Welcome to day 3 of 21 days of yoga. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank yourself for making it to the 3rd day on your mat. So we're going to begin actually in mountain pose. So let's first begin by aligning our feet about hip width apart, toes and heels grounded. Alright, you can have your knees slightly bent, neutral spine and waist, stacking your ribs and your crown of your head, and then you can have your hands by your side or at heart center. And here you can start to ground yourself and bring forth your intention for today's practice. If that is creativity, think about ways of how you can be creative in this new year, in all aspects of your life. Breathe in, breathe out. So here in Tadasana, we're going to begin to lower our butt as if we were trying to sit down. And as we go into chair pose, making sure our knee is not too much over, right, our toes, and really just sitting and sinking in this position. Pretend as if there's a block in between your thighs, and really just squeezing and holding that, right? And you can have your hands here by your side, heart center, up above your head, or in a cactus pose or field pose. Just holding this, and breathing in, right? The lower you go, the more intense you want that to be. And then we're in this chair pose. Begin by putting your right arm over your left. And if this is enough for you, right, just keeping sure that you're keeping alignment. You're not leaning one way more than the other, keeping your hips neutral. And then wrapping my right around my left. And here is eagle pose. And then maybe lifting up your shoulders and your elbows to bring it as high as possible, really getting that shoulder stretch. And hold it this for 3, 2, 1. You can release that. And also you can just forward fold and drop to your hands to the mat. Right? And so now we're going to bring ourselves right back up into that chair pose, and now bringing the opposite, right? So left under right, and then wrapping that, lifting up those shoulders and elbows and holding this for 3, 2, and 1, and release that. And then once again dropping into that forward fold. And I'm going to just turn the other way and walk my hands and feet to the front of my mat, still in that forward fold. Maybe alternating between the two of bending and straightening. And then actually stepping out that right leg, taking it to the edge of the mat, placing my hands in between my right and my left. And then bringing back that left foot, bringing that knee down into a lizard pose. Here, you're really just deepening this stretch in both your left and right thigh, hamstring. And if you want to deepen this stretch, you can put your forearms down on the mat. And holding this for 3, 2, and 1. And picking that back up. And if you want to add a variation, you can actually lift up that back left leg. And maybe even try placing your hands off the mat, or keeping it on and holding this for 3, 2, 1, lower. Scooting that right leg back and then bringing that left foot back up into a forward fold. And once again bending and unbending that out. And doing the same thing for the left. So stepping the left foot out, placing your hands down on the mat, stepping back that right leg, and deepening that linear stretch on the left side. Holding this for 3, 2. You can also put your forearms down if you feel comfortable doing so. And 1. Lifting up that back leg once again. And maybe keeping your hands down on the mat or placing them on here, or even trying to reach that back leg. Whichever is comfortable for you. And then release. And then scoot that back in. And then step up into your forward fold once again. Once you feel that, you can place your hands on your shins, lifting up into flat back or half lift. Back down, placing your hand down on the mat, stepping back into your plank or modified plank with your knees down. Either or, as long as your core is engaged, your wrists are stacked over your shoulders, and you have this diagonal from the top to the bottom of your body. Shifting forward and lowering down. Untucking the toes, lifting up in the Cobra Pose, lifting up your heart and chest, and then back down. And then untucking your toes and lifting your butt up and back into downward dog and pedal that out. This may be your first downward dog of the day. And so really getting comfortable in this pose, maybe bending your knees, unbending it, whatever's comfortable for you. Lifting up that right leg into a three-legged dog. And then maybe doing some circles, right? So bending the knee towards you, then out, and then to the back. And then maybe doing the reverse. And doing the same on the other side, lifting up that left leg, bending the knee towards you, then out, and then circle it, and then reverse, and then back. And then walking that out. And now we're going to get down on our knees into tabletop. And walking our hands in front of us, slowly bringing our chest down to the mat while still keeping our knees about hip width apart. Bringing our chest down and our forehead down to the mat as much as possible. Holding this for 3, 2, and 1. Getting up and safely walking back out of that puppy pose back into tabletops. And then actually sitting your tailbone back on your heels in the child's pose. Walking your hands back out, forehead back on the mat. And just allowing yourself to take some breaths here. Walking your hands to the right side of the room, stretching the left body. Back center, and then doing the same, walking the hands to the left side, stretching the right body. Going back into tabletops. Right, and now bringing that right leg in between your hands into a low lunge, and then tucking that left back foot, putting it 45 degrees, and then cartwheeling up into Warrior 2. Holding this, allowing yourself to feel strong, all parts of your body engaged. Knee and ankle are stacked. And then hinge forward a little bit and actually place this front arm down on your thigh. And then bringing that left arm up and over into a side angle. Right? But in this position, making sure we're not actually putting too much weight on this front leg. But if that arm was to be gone, you would still hold this position as if you're kind of like in a plank pose or side plank. While you're here, you're going to bring your hands back down and now tilting that back foot into runner's pose. And then placing your hands firmly down so you can bring that front foot into plank. And so you can either do a side plank here by just simply tilting your feet and stacking them next to each other, making sure your wrist is still aligned with your shoulder, or you can modify it by having this knee down. Either or is fine. Holding this for 3, 2, 1, back down. Back down to tabletops. And now I'm doing the same thing for the left foot in a low lunge. Twisting that back leg 45 degrees up into Warrior 2 on the left leg. hinging forward, and bringing that left arm down on the left foot and lifting that right arm up and over. Holding this. And now placing your hands back down into a plank pose. Stacking your wrist underneath your shoulder and pivoting to the other side so you can have that side plank position. And of course you can modify if that's comfortable for you. And then back down. And then lower your knees back into child's pose. Go back into tabletop, untucking your toes and lifting up and back into down dog. Walk that out. And now kind of go on your tippy toes and kind of roll into that plank pose. This time, placing that left foot kind of in the center, bringing your right knee up, rotating again as if you're doing a half plank or a side plank, and then actually bringing down that right foot so that you're on your toes into a wild thing and bringing your body to follow with it. And then doing the reverse by bringing your knee back to the other side and then back into plank. And then dropping your knees back into child's pose. And now we'll do the same thing on the other side. Lifting back into your plank pose. Shifting that weight to the other side of your right. Let going of the left hand, bringing it up as if you're in side plank. And now bringing that knee up and over into wild thing. And then rotating that back down, back into plank, and back into child's pose. So now we're going to get on our knees. I call it half mountain pose or standing Tadasana. Now we're going to get on our knees. Think about it as like a half Tadasana or mountain pose. And we're going to keep our hands back here as if we're kind of putting them in our back pockets. And then lifting our chest up and over, like over a barrel. Face about parallel to the ceiling into our camel pose. Holding this for 3, 2, 1, and release. And you can do this again. Maybe having your right arm down and a half camel. And then your left arm can be where it was before or maybe up in the air. And then release it. And then doing the same for the left side. So bringing back that left hand if possible. And then right arm can be out. And then release. Really allowing these creative juices to just flow, right? Here we can bring forth our intention of creativity for today's practice. I'm just exploring different movements, different things in our bodies, and seeing if we can translate that to our life outside the mat, exploring, discovering, trying new things, being creative with our vision and being open to new possibilities. So last pose, second to last pose, we're going to bring ourselves down onto our bellies and keeping our forearms on the mat, keeping our underarms, keeping our elbows stacked underneath our shoulders in Sphinx pose. And then really just pressing up into a slight back bend. Holding this for 3, 2, 1, and release. And then one more time. Really opening, shining our hearts up 3, 2, release. And then turning to our backs. Keeping our left foot down and bringing our right knee towards us and trying our best to bring it straight. And then using our hands to grab our shins, our calves, whatever, and bringing that right foot closer to us. And then maybe you can reach further up to your toes or the arch of your foot using your right arm. And then slowly, keeping the rest of your body down, including your shoulders, bringing that right foot down and opening it up. If you want to alleviate the pressure or tension, you can always straight bend this left foot. Maybe try bending or straightening. And then safely bring it back to center. Back down, and now lifting and bending that left foot. Holding that foot with your hands either on your calf or your ankle. Bringing it closer to your chest. Using your left outer hand to slowly opening up those hips, keeping the rest of your body flat. Once again, bending or straightening this pose. And then back up. And then back down. And then here we can fall into Shavasana, allowing ourselves to rest. Some of these poses may have been challenging or new for our body, but that's okay. With creativity comes fun, comes exploration, comes your chance to express yourself. Allow your fingers to naturally curl. Taking in some deep breath here into the nose, out through the mouth. With each breath sinking further into the mat. Surrendering. Releasing the tension between your eyebrows, your jaw. And use this time to bring awareness or ponder on how will you be creative in 2020. What does creativity look like for you, either at work, at home, your finances, or your hobbies? If you have more time to lay here, I invite you to do so. If not, you can bringing energy and life to your body, dropping your knees to one side, and gently getting up into a seated position. I hope 2020 brings you joy. You're able to have fun and be creative in any way that works for you. You can bring your hands to heart center. May the light in me see the light in you. Thank you for joining me on day 3.